Good evening to you. It is Thursday, November 20th at 8:46 p.m. Your Purdue Boilermakers have just uh, won a game down in the Bahamas. They beat Memphis 80-71, improved to 5-0 on the young season. They'll play either Wake Forest or Texas Tech after the result of the second night of the game down in Mackey Arena South or Baha Mar Resort in the Bahamas. Purdue fans showed out like they've been known to do. As the tip-off was about to go, when they showed the resort, my wife said, "Why didn't we go to this game?" I thought, she didn't ever mention that when we knew Purdue was going to the Bahamas, and yet we were still asking that question. Beautiful, beautiful looking setting, beautiful backdrop for a game like that. And like I said, tons of people in black and gold. If you follow Twitter and looked at what was happening around the place, Purdue absolutely took over the area and has invaded the Bahamas. I'm going to talk all about the wonderful, beautiful, fantastic game we got to watch. But first, before I do it, let me thank our pals at Home Field Apparel. Head over to homefieldapparel.com, grab a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, one of those 90s retro jackets that look so good. Get something for your family. You better do it soon. You need a little bit of time because they bake a lot of what you order fresh. It's not a lie. Some of the stuff is made to order, not all of it, but some of it's made to order, and because of that, there's a little bit of lag. But go ahead, buy something pretty for yourself. Buy something pretty for your family. Homefieldapparel.com. And also, when you're on campus and you've just watched Purdue win a frustrating game, what do? Well, you take a little jog to work off some of that frustration right towards the fire station. When you get to the fire station, you turn left, look at those blue and black lights. It's AJ's. Like an old friend welcoming you at the front door after a long drive, saying, "Come on in, pal. Sit down. Have a beer. Enjoy some delicious beef." Yeah, that's what they do. They just welcome you in. They've got a great staff there. They'll get you seated quickly, incredibly fast, actually. I'm always floored by it, honestly, when I get in there and it looks like I'm not going to get to eat for a while because I'm hungry after a game. AJ's, burgers, beef, beer. EatAJ's.com. AJ's right by the fire station. So that was not a fun game to watch. It was really an unfun game to watch. I said this on Twitter that it reminded me a bit of like a second round NCAA tournament game where nothing goes your way and you find a way to win. Had that feel. Memphis is athletic. They're not very good. They've lost 3 straight now. They came in losing 2 straight. They've got a lot of athletes. They got a lot of length. They've got Michigan's old point guard, Doug McDaniel. He started at Michigan, went to Kansas State, and now he's at Memphis. And he's hurt. He's hurt. He wants you to know he's hurt. He's going to keep telling you he's hurt. Every play, fall on the ground. Yeah, he was hurt. So, but he's good. He's a good point guard. He and Braden Smith have squared off quite a few times in their career. He hounded Smith all day, made things difficult for Purdue and for Smith. Smith didn't have his best game, but TKR also didn't have his best game. An incredible exhibition of officiating. Let's just say that. Memphis comes into the game averaging over 20 fouls a game. They finish the game being whistled 13 times. Purdue comes in the game averaging 12.75 fouls a game, gets whistled for 21 fouls. Purdue also had, let's see, what was noteworthy? TKR got a tech called on him after, I don't know what I'd call it, one of the questionable fouls. The spread was 14.5 points. Purdue won by 9. I'm not going to mention any more than that about that. But what I am going to say is we've seen poorly officiated games. If you watch college basketball, you've seen them, okay? But this one reminded me, I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine. Purdue played Oklahoma when they had, what's his name? In Madison Square Garden in a preseason game a long time ago. I think it was when the Baby Boilers played. And I don't know if you remember that game. If you're old like me, you remember stuff like that for no good reason. Can't remember what happened yesterday, what you had for lunch, but you remember games like that. And I remember it was an awfully officiated game. Purdue lost that game. Today, it was officiated with the same sort of prowess. Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. If you haven't watched it, I'd say don't waste your time because it was really not very entertaining and it was frustrating. It never felt to me like, by the way, there's the guy. It's funny. Yeah, but I'm not going to go. It reminded me that why I disdain college basketball at times. It's like a love-hate relationship. I did not enjoy it. Did not enjoy, do not recommend. But Purdue finds a way to win. Here's the thing. Purdue started off the game super slowly. Okay. Like I wrote some notes here early in the game. Purdue was down 16-8 very early with 13 minutes and 30 seconds left. Purdue's down 16-8. Purdue's guards were struggling with Memphis's length. At that point, the game seemed to be being called straight up. And then it just all went to hell. Memphis started playing. I think this happens. I think coaches that know they can't go straight up against a team try to make it as physical as possible. I know coaches will do that. Penny Hardaway is what I call a bad coach, a coach that doesn't know X's and O's. He builds the roster, and then Mike Davis coaches the Memphis team. If you didn't know that, he's on the bench. And I think Mike Davis is a pretty damn good coach. But I don't think Penny Hardaway is good for much on the bench other than getting those guys in the door. I have been consistent about this. Jay always laughs at it because I've taken such umbrage with the fact that I just don't think Hardaway's good at it. But Hardaway dressed well. At least he wore a sweatshirt and some basketball shorts, so he looked sharp. It's one thing to go island style. It's another just to look like you just rolled out of the bed. And Hardaway looked tired the entire time. He was yawning, looked disinterested. But anyway, that's not the Memphis players' fault. There was also an unusual play where Clough was set up. Memphis's big man, who already had 4 fouls, came down to get in the post. He turned around to engage Clough. Pretty standard stuff. If you've ever sat low at an NCAA basketball game, you will see these collisions are pretty violent. I remember watching Juwan Johnson years ago. I was courtside at Mackey, and I couldn't believe how much contact Juwan Johnson took and how much he gave out. Juwan Johnson, if you don't know this, was kind of thin. And if you're too young to remember that. But those bodies collided hard. Well, today, Memphis's big man probably weighed, 75, 78 pounds. Oscar Clough is pretty sturdy. He was ready for the contact. The Memphis player decided to leave his feet as he tried to bump into Clough. Clough didn't budge. The Memphis player either flopped or fell down because he doesn't weigh anything and he had horrible technique. Either one, doesn't matter. He decides to stay on the ground as if he's, what was his name? The guy in the Tom Cruise movie. It doesn't matter. He decides to stay down, enjoy the moment, and then he pops up, Jerry Maguire, pops up, the Cuba Gooding character, pops up, and he gets right in Clough's face, starts wagging his finger at him and yells. And, it felt like a powder keg. And these games always feel like that in these small venues. If they're competitive at all, it feels like something bad's about to happen. Just watching on TV. I don't know what it felt like there. I wasn't there. I don't have J Money where I can just go take a junket at any time down to the Bahamas. He's not there either. He's been down to the Bahamas games before. But they came away from timeout and... what's his name? I'll tell you who it was. I'm going to tell you exactly who it was. It was Aaron Bradshaw. Is that it? Yeah, Aaron Bradshaw, number 11 from Memphis, had earned his 5th foul. I was shocked that they did that. I was sure they were going to come back either with A, double technicals, Clough and Bradshaw, which would have fouled Bradshaw out, or B, nothing for Bradshaw and a technical for Clough. Instead, they called it that way. I was shocked. After that, the refs were like, we're going to make up for that technical by calling one of the worst games you will ever see. It looked like these officials had coached had officiated CYO games and decided to pick up college basketball that day. I don't know which conference they're from, but whatever it is, hopefully that conference says you should never come back. They were horrible. The officials were awful. The way they called the game was awful. There's one out of bounds play where Memphis was very effective, running backdoor stuff, back screens, getting lobs. Really took advantage of Purdue in that way. But there was a game there was a play they were trying to set up a dunk. CJ Cox came over to help to stop the guy from turning towards the hoop. So all he does, he fades from his left to his right. The Memphis player is back to the basket. He wants to turn over his shoulder. Cox come over, and you're coached just to touch a player to let him know you're there. And he literally brushes the Memphis player's arm, and they whistle Cox for a foul. Just a brutal reach-in foul on C.J. Cox. But that wasn't all. That was just indicative of a bigger problem that was happening all game. Let me look at the box score now. Here's what the important thing is. Purdue wins, like I said, 80-71. They improved to 5-0. There's a lot of things that you could say Purdue could have done better. Purdue could have shot better, like I said. Purdue started the game horribly. I don't know if it's the sight lines from having the ceiling 15 feet above your head. Purdue started the game 1 for 9 in the first half from 3. That's 9, what, 11%? 11%. Not good. Not good. Really not at all on the normal pace that Purdue has from shooting 3. So it was good that they were still in the game. In fact, they had, a 1-point lead at the half, I think, because Braden Smith threw up a prayer right at the end of the first half. And it was an ugly shot. It went in. It goes down as a positive. Purdue, I think, finished with close to 40% from 3. I'll tell you here in a second. I'm not positive. Didn't look at that stat. But I'll do it now. Let's do it now together. Let's run into the stat machine together. On the good side of things, Fletch Lawyer, who I'm glad he's a Purdue Boilermaker, because I think at times I wouldn't like Fletch a whole bunch. He was smirking the entire second half as if he knew something that no one else in the place knew. He knew the script, the way the game was going to go. Fletch Lawyer finishes with 20 points in 32 minutes. He went 4 for 10 from deep, and I think he started, if I'm remembering correctly, I think he started 0 for 4, 0 for 5, and finishes 4 for 10. So pretty good comeback. The guy just keeps shooting. A shooter's got to shoot. I will say this, and I'm going to say it to Purdue fans. Specifically, Purdue fans are here because some of you have said it in comments. Many of you have said Fletch Lawyer is going to get eaten alive by athletic guards, long guards all year. Well, guess who he played tonight? Athletic long guards, and he leads Purdue in scoring. Granted, he started off poorly. I just want that narrative to stop. Fletch Lawyer has played great games against athletic guards, guards like Arizona, guards like Tennessee. He plays pretty well against guys when the lights are on. He's pretty damn good. And for Purdue fans to talk shit about him, I'm bothered by that. He's not my favorite Purdue player by any means, but I love that he is what he is. I think he's important to this team because you need somebody with edge who's on edge all the time. There's a story that's going around Twitter that one of Memphis's players fouled him. Lawyer went 4 for 4 from the free throw line, I believe. I'm going to double check that. Went 4 for 4 from the free throw line. But one of Memphis's players was talking trash to Fletch before he's about to shoot a free throw. And Fletch said, "Who are you?" And he looked around the back of the guy to check his name. He said, "Oh," and he said his name. "You keep trying hard," or something like that. And then Fletch at that point just went absolutely insane, went off and started hitting his shots. So they kind of poked the bear and they paid for it. Who else played well at Purdue? Braden Smith it's not going to be his favorite game when he looks back at it. But here's one thing he did. He assisted pretty well. He had one of the best passes I think you're going to see this season. As the game was closing out, Memphis had extended their defense all the way to half court and passed it. Purdue was struggling, and Smith threw an underhand bounce pass to Clough. Clough fielded the thing. It was pretty damn good pass from the angle. Clough, good hands down there. Nice soft hands, grabs the ball, goes up to shoot the layup, gets fouled in the process, hits the free throw, and Clough did a lot of that down the stretch. Clough made free throws, made the shots you need to make to win a game like this. So Smith, 5 points, 11 assists, only 3 boards. Couple turnovers, couple steals, but not a game to write home about. Like I said, Smith struggled. I think you can flat out say Smith struggled. He was 2 of 14 from the field. And I don't know if you're a historian. I kind of am when it comes to Purdue basketball. But Smith has done this before. Remember a couple years ago when Purdue had that magical NCAA tournament run with Big Zach. Smith had a game that he was atrocious. And I can't remember which game it was. And afterwards, he was so distraught. He went to his team. He apologized. I think the next game he went crazy. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does that next game. Still, 11 assists, nothing to sneeze at. And let's see. Man, nobody was close to Smith on either team for assists. That's incredible. Doug McDaniel on the other side had 6 assists. And he finished with 18 points. He led Memphis, all Memphis scores. Trey Kaufman-Renn, in spite of the fact that he fouled out with, around 7 minutes left? Something like that. He finishes with 12 points, 11 boards, 4 assists. Pretty nice. And a couple of his assists were absolute dimes. Purdue played the double post, not a super high post, but like a medium high post. And he found Jacobson on a couple of them. And Jacobson easily dunked. Jacobson finished with 6 points. He's got to hit the glass harder. Only 1 rebound. That's kind of the biggest knock, I'd say, on Jacobson this season so far. Omer Meyer off the bench, 6 points on 2 of 6, 2 of 9 shooting from the field. Had a couple pretty solid plays. Jack Benner off the bench only has 2 points, but it was a memorable 2 points. It was on a fast break. He looked like he was going to rip the rim down. For those of you who know what Jack did in high school, he did that in high school. He ripped the rim off, and he showed his athleticism on that play. Went up and got it, and pretty nice thunder mash there. CJ Cox was the steadying hand the whole game, the most consistent of all the Boilermakers. 18 points on 7 to 10 shooting, 4 boards, just solid. And the funny thing is, as Purdue fans, we have a tendency to overreact to everything. I think everybody does in this society. We are products of this society, this time, right? We all want things to happen right away, and we all want them right all the time. Don't give up on CJ Cox and Jakari Harris, Boiler fans, please, because it's asinine. It's a dumb idea. But CJ Cox reminds you why he's in the starting lineup, why he's very, very good. Oscar Clough finishes with 11 points. He went 3 for 3 from the field, 5 for 5 from the free throw line, 7 boards, 2 assists. He's good. He's really good. And he's showing why he's so good and why he's such a good complement to this team, because he is an absolute enforcer. Purdue, once again, in another game where they were tested, because they've been tested a lot, where teams want to test Purdue's toughness, Purdue showed that they're kind of the mean kid on the block tonight, in spite of the fact the refs really wanted to take that whole thing out of their hands. Like I said, the refs just looked like they had been officiating CYO games their whole career. They had no idea what to do with physicality. Full stop. No idea what to do with it. I think I got everybody. Let's see. Purdue, in spite of that 9 or 11% start from the 3-point line, finishes the game 37% from deep. Shot free throw well, 82%, but only got to the line 11 times. Again, the foul count. Memphis played a very, very extended defense for much of the second half, and yet Memphis gets whistled 13 times for fouls. Purdue gets whistled 21 times. So a lot of you guys are here. I don't think I'm going to read every comment. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to try to shoot. It's 18 minutes. I want to shoot for 20. I'm going to blow past that, but I'm just going to try to go through this. When this starts getting repetitive, or you guys, no offense to anybody, but I'm going to try to get everybody who left a comment on here. Steve Azzano says first, and his name is different. It looks like it's longer. It's not just Steve Azzano. Now it's Steve Azzano 4274. So a lot of, and then Adam Pomfret, which reminds me of French fries, Pomfret, 576 says, hey, that is Growball. There's something happening with the names. A lot of them have numbers. This is different. Generally, you guys, your names are there. Everybody has a number, almost everybody. That is Growball, 2913. Huge Cox night. Absolutely. Great take. Absolutely huge Cox night. Marshall Briggs says, evening down. His name is also different. Real Briggs 250. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but it's screwing with all your usernames. And I know those are brands. You guys are all brands in my mind. Strong brands. The Noodle Boiler says, who knew Purdue football was tonight? Exactly. It was physical. The refs had no idea how to wrangle the game after they had let it go. That's really what it comes down to. And then they decided just to whistle Purdue for every time they breathed on somebody. Ted Berkey says every win is beautiful. Every win is beautiful in the win column, and it's beautiful after the fact, but during the game, not so beautiful. Joe Inslee, 4594 says headline, huge Cox overcomes bumbling refs. That's a good one. I like that. I didn't go that way. The Noodle says Cox rose to the occasion. He absolutely did. Andrew, Nita Being Verse says, not my best look watching this game. Not proud of words, I said and yelled. Okay, so You're a calm dude, man. From what I know of you, you're a calm guy. I kept it cool in this one, and I am not a calm guy. I was actually on really good behavior just because I was bothered, but I don't know if I didn't see losing this game as the end of the world, or I didn't think Purdue was going to lose. Either way, I didn't get too frustrated. I thought the refs were silly. They were just silly. It was like I said, it was like something that didn't belong in the whole scene was there. Let's see. Don't know what this means. Beater Jung says, was expecting a late whistle to be blown during the handshake line. Absolutely. Jason Davenport says that thumbnail's perfection. Yeah, I worked hard on that, so I'm glad you're enjoying it. If you look closely, there's some silliness in the AI imagery, but I had to do some doctoring to just make it somewhat not stupid. But it was AI figured out what I wanted pretty quickly after I did a couple runs at it. Not Allen Iverson. Let's see. Brock Stepler says, can we fly new refs in for tomorrow night? I don't know how this works and which officials will be there, but I know they don't have a huge accoutrement. So what I'm hoping is that this officiating corps gets the consolation game, because there's a consolation game. This is a 4-team tournament. And as we speak, Texas Tech and Wake Forest are facing off. Adam Pomfret says, didn't get to watch it. Listen to the radio broadcast on Varsity app. Hate how many simply can't take a la carte purchase instead of subscribing for 15 different services. Yeah, okay, this is a good point. So what he's saying is he doesn't like the fact that this was on CBS Sports, is what I think, the long and short, because he probably has, maybe he has Hulu, or I think Hulu doesn't have CBS Sports. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know Sling doesn't have CBS Sports. Fubo does. YouTube TV does. But this is the bill of goods that we were sold, and now we're looking into this bag, and it's like a bag of crap. At one point, we were told it was going to be narrow casting where you get to choose, and now you can't really do that. So you have to get a streaming service for everything, and it sucks. I agree with you. The good news is you don't have to deal with it anymore this season after this tournament. So you got one more game. Sadly, you have to deal with it. But I agree. It's awful. Ed Albanese, 6310, the Gummy Bear King of Northern Indiana, says Lawyer had some critical turnovers. He did. Well, let's see. Let's see. How many turnovers did Lawyer have? Lawyer had 4 turnovers. So he had more than anybody. I think as Purdue fans, we can remember much worse games by guards in the recent past, right? Last year it happened all the time. He had some critical turnovers. He made shots, though, especially down the stretch. And it was not his best game at all, but he got it done, if we're being real honest. He was the dude who propelled Purdue to victory. He and Clough, I'd say, and then Cox, those 3. It's a different big 3. And TKR, my guess, will have a better game next game. Braden Smith, if I'm betting, will also have a better game next game. Yo says refs are rigging games, period. TKR was an idiot losing his cool like that. Yeah, I don't know what he said. I bet it wasn't the nicest thing. I bet he would be bothered by himself saying that after the fact. But also, he's a guy that I've seen him get pissed before, and he doesn't apologize to anybody. That's not his way. I would love for him to have a little bit cooler of a head, but I also relate with him, to tell you the truth. So, yeah. Karen Grulock, my buddy, says, party on, step it up to the next game, Team Fletcher. Yeah, she's on Team Fletcher forever, by the way. Alex Bear says, first time catching it live. Glad you're here. I'm sure it's momentous, and it feels amazing. I'm just kidding. Thomas Wichlinski, I struggled with this last time, but now it's got numbers after it. Said, did the refs have Memphis and the points? I'm not going to comment on that, but you can draw your own conclusions based on the factoids I gave earlier. D-Nels22 says, crazy the hunted, not the hunter. Takes my brain some getting used to. No doubt about it. Blake Griffin says, Ted Berkey, reminding me of that Oklahoma game. Blake and his brother were on that same team, if I remember correctly, right? Referring to what I talked about earlier, preseason NIT. Yep. I think, did somebody get tossed in that game? And Blake hit free throws to kind of push the game out. I think that's what happened. But if you remember that game, you're like Ted and I, you remember That was horribly officiated. It was the worst one ever. Chris Harder, my buddy, says he likes the thumbnail. He appreciates it. Let me get it down a little further. See if Dale Clements, who I think Dale and I were going back and forth on Twitter, withdraws his comment to comment later. Let's see. He says, an awfully officiated game. Sorry to all fans who paid money to go watch that. Yeah, there were a lot of Purdue fans there. There were, I don't know if I have permission to say something like this. My wife and I were watching early, and we noticed there were a couple of trophy wives there. Purdue-clad trophy wives, and more power to everybody involved there. To the women who were pretty, and to the guys who outkicked their coverage. Because absolutely, they showed dudes that did not belong with those women. I don't know if you notice things like that, where you're like, that couple doesn't make much sense. So congratulations to those dudes. Brandon Alexander was pretty funny on Twitter earlier. Said, I was literally going insane during that game. It was unbelievable. So proud of the boys for playing through that crap shoot and still getting the W. Agreed. Really nice. AirTech26 says, I don't think these numbers are ever here. I recognize the name. Never been more infuriated to watch a Purdue game before. Those refs need to be fined or fired. So I don't know how old you are, AirTech, but I do know we've seen games that were officiated this badly. And who knows? Maybe we'll see one again this year. But it's just one game, and I'm glad Purdue comes away with the victory, just like you are. Yigzat, it's a great name, says Memphis was flopping all over the place. Yeah, so it's always interesting to me. The combination of flopping and over physicality, like when you're slapping a team, just trying to take it to them, and those things almost always go together. And we will see this again. We will see that sort of tactic again. You can quote me. You can come back and say, Boiler Doubt, how'd you know? How'd I know? Because we see it all the time, every damn year. When you're highly ranked, that's what teams try to do. Dare the officials to call things, and on both ends, right? Let's see. Blake Marty says, excellent analysis of the officiating. I appreciate it. Big Harden, my buddy, says, I really wish they didn't have to play at this ridiculous venue ever again tomorrow. Everything about it feels amateur. He continues, the officials should never be allowed to coach college games. These officials should never be allowed to coach college games again. It was a cool Make-A-Wish moment for them, but let's get real professionals tomorrow. Good stuff there. I hope you're well, Nick. Sorry. I've known Nick for a couple years. Greg Stuckey says, good to see we can win in different ways. When you're not shooting the rock great, we'll have those games from time to time. Yeah. And I think that's a good way to put your focus. It's better than what I've done. Because I got frustrated with things that were out of Purdue's control. The things that Purdue can control, as a coach, I can tell you, because I have coached, is I would have, in the post game, I would have said, guys, you have to take better shots, number one. You cannot start a game that slowly, number two. Number three, when a game is physical, you can't let it affect you and get out of your game. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And it's really hard to ask a team to do that, especially when they're not able to block out. They're not able to go get the ball. But it's like that some days, right? So Painter was frustrated. He got close to getting the tech at one point. Didn't get the tech, but that says a lot for him to even get close. Harvesting Heralds says it's a W and that's all that matters. Agreed. Good stuff. JD Hare. Seems like the starting five is locked in. I was really surprised to see that Harris only got 9 minutes. I think Harris is going to have an opportunity coming here real soon. I'll tell you the truth, I was more surprised that we didn't see more Meyer playing, especially when Smith got in foul trouble. Smith had 4. And yeah, he ended with 4, didn't he? He didn't foul out, did he? Let's see. Yeah, Smith ended the game with 4. That's what I thought. He didn't foul out, but he came close a couple times. And Purdue did some weird things on defense. They moved him down to the block, and they had him front the center instead of, and it wasn't on a switch, I don't think, but they're trying to keep him away from McDaniel, who's really, really good at manipulating a defender. So pretty smart move. Matt Keller says, how can you take anything from this game the way it was officiated? I mean, just when we were about to go on a run, the whistle would blow and get a ghost foul. It's fair. It's tough to take a lot from this game, but I think Memphis can hold their chin up high because they've been getting their ass kicked pretty handily from worse teams than Purdue. UNLV was one of the teams they lost to in the last 3 games. Not a great one, but let's see. Josh Deitch. Let's go with that. No joke. My 5-year-old said, "What was that?" On the Cluff flop, or the flop by the other guy, and almost a fight. Now, I'm sure she didn't truly comprehend what was happening, but the fact she said it gave me a chuckle. Yeah, she knew it was out of the norm to see a guy just kind of jettison to the floor when the possession hasn't even started. Because I think the ball was, a half court when it happened? Maybe just crossed half court. Very weird. Christina KV6. Let's go by Christina. She's our buddy from Twitter. Says, I like that TKR got mad. He was locked in. Rather keep him in that mindset. I just think Painter should have taken him out for a break sooner, because he was upset too long before the technical. Agree with everything you said there. TKR, we saw that a lot last year, where you didn't have an option, right? The fall off was huge when he'd have to come out of the game, but I agree. Ron Gable says 10-day trial of YouTube TV got me to get these 2 games. Ron being a crafty veteran right there. Greg Stuckey said, like your shirt, the shirt you have on tonight. Yeah, this is a BS special makeup from 2 Christmases ago. We've got a tradition that we'll get some shirts printed for the 5 of us and maybe a couple extras, something like that. But this is one that Jay designed. He did a very, very good job. He's very handsome too. Jay Boiler says Purdue was favored by 10.5 total point. 10.5. I thought it was 14.5, but 10.5. I don't know anything about betting. Let me be real honest. Let's see. I'll find it. And the total points was 156.5 over under. Here's the thing. I don't really bet. Jay Money, who's right here, I'm going to read his comment, said, Jay Money says, my goodness, that quarter zip is glorious. Look at that. Like, I'm reading these out of order, and that worked out so perfectly. Well done, Jay. L's mom, ESL mom, let's say that. ESL mom, so English sign language maybe? I didn't get any new numbers. What's that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Checking out my new numbers. Oh, yeah. So ESL mom 3, just 3. I don't know if that's usually if you have the number 3 after, but many people have numbers here. Many are saying, many numbers. John Hawks says, we'll have more nights like this. A dub is all that matters. I agree. And it's really tough to keep your head, as we saw in TKR's case. But really, you need a couple guys to act as the kind of the steady hand. And really, CJ Cox, Clough, like I said, and Lawyer were steady in the second half. Hats off to him. I couldn't have done it. Noodle says Edie also has a 3. Yeah, I know what you're talking. Man, that's up here. I'm gonna jump out of this conversation because I'm jumping into something I see out there. Here's another comment from somebody who I haven't read from. Hal Gotch, and he's got a bunch of number 8681, says TKR lit the Boilers today, showed some emotion, but Clough, Fletch, CJ, Harris, Braden, and Omer kept their cool the whole time, which got us the win. That's a lot of people keeping their cool. Here's the thing. I even think Smith did a good job keeping his cool. The one really weird thing, completely out of the players' control, is there's a time, it's another thing dealing with ballroom basketball. The floor was wet, clearly. Smith was coming up the court, gets it across. If you couldn't watch a game, let me tell you about one. This is interesting. Gets the ball across half court, slips, loses his feet, lands on his shoulders, almost like a cartoon. The ball gets over the other side of the half court. Ron and I were texting, and he said that he didn't think the ball ever crossed half court. They called over and back because, of course, they did. The very next play, Memphis slips in the midcourt, I believe, and turns the ball over. And then Purdue comes down and scores. So it was like a zero-sum game, but really odd. Really odd. The game was weird, but that's a conditions thing. And it wasn't because there's moisture coming from the ballroom floor that so many have been married on. It was because they hadn't cleaned the moisture up from a fall recently or a play or 2 ago. They just didn't do a good job getting rags on it. And I'm told Purdue's assistants went out to clean the court during the dead ball by somebody who was in the house. So that was good info, good inside stuff. Jay Fosty, 25, says, boys need to hit the pools after tonight's W. Maybe throw in a massage. Enjoy some other parts of this trip because basketball operation at this resort is Mickey Mouse. I like it. It's good. It's succinct. It's right. Let's see. Sports Kings 24 KB says Cox was the man tonight. He is so focused. Love to see it. Love to see it. And here's the thing that I keep reminding everyone. The starting lineup next year is going to include he and Harris. I'm almost positive about it, regardless of how. I think Weber and Weber's the guy that I think is the biggest. He might come in and play the 3, but Cox will move up to the 2, right? He plays the 2. It's really convoluted because right now you have Fletch as the 3, which doesn't make much sense to me. But it doesn't really matter what number you put beside the names, does it? Denver Graham says, Graham 1127 says, I'm 1127 tonight. Also the number of fouls called against Purdue. Yeah, what a coincidence. Lucky dog. Gamer Dad 1987 says, had to listen from the car. Seems like Purdue has always been a second half team under Painter. Wasn't too worried about this one, especially with the threes falling right out of halftime. Yeah, and it was good to see. And Purdue ended that first half with a flourish as well. So you've been down this road and you handled it well, and Purdue did as well. Purdue's coaches, I mean, they did an excellent job kind of dealing with the cards that were dealt. And like we said, those Purdue steady hands were awesome. It's 36 minutes. It's way too long for a post game. I'm going to call it. I'm sorry to the comments that are just coming in right now. But thanks to everybody for tuning in. I hope you feel better. I hope you feel like you can take Brad Eban. I didn't read his comment. I might have to do this. Says, I know Painter tries to schedule teams without different play or teams with different playing styles, but I didn't know he also tries to schedule terrible reffing so they are better prepared to stay calm next time. Yeah, that was good. It's a good case in point. And he can use this. This is one of those coaching moments that he can say, remember that damn Memphis game? Keep your heads. And it's that simple, right? That's going to be a big deal. You're absolutely right. So, and that's it. That's official. 37 minutes, and we'll call it a day. God bless you. Hammer down. We'll be back tomorrow night. Purdue plays at like 9 p.m. against one of these two teams. Right now, Texas Tech is up 23-14, handling their business. They're 15th in America. They've got another guy. So it'll be a matchup of two different Player of the Year candidates. That'll be fun to watch if Texas Tech continues to do what they're doing. If not, Purdue gets to play a guy that left Purdue because he didn't get enough feel-good minutes. Either way, sounds fun to me. God bless you. Hammer down. Talk to you soon. We'll see you. Boilers are 5-0.